Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This city is located in Myanmar, a place known for its majority Buddhist population. The entire city is decorated with magnificent Buddha statues, monasteries full of peace, and people who are very devout to their religious teachings. This city is located in Myanmar, a place known for its majority Buddhist population. The entire city is decorated with magnificent Buddha statues, monasteries full of peace, and people who are very devout to their religious teachings. The city streets are filled with the fragrance of incense flowing from every corner, while the sound of dhikr and Buddhist mantras that are often heard in the gentle breeze. The people here are very related to the tradition of living a life full of virtue and inner enlightenment. In 2020, this city is preparing to hold a major worship service full of meaning. The religious event was attended by several prominent bhiksu from various regions and is expected to be an important moment in the religious life of the city's people from young to middle. With full hope for peace and blessings to come, every house is decorated with flowers and lanterns, while residents are busy with final preparations to ensure everything is ready to welcome the arrival of the monks and worship participants. In the midst of these preparations, the monk Dayan became a highly respected and influential figure. He is a prominent monk who will lead the worship service and himself is known for his deep mastery of Buddhist teachings and his wise leadership. In addition to being respected by the local community, Dan also has many followers from various cities and regions. His calm personality full of understanding and his ability to convey teachings in a touching way made him a highly respected figure by all circles. Ben prepared this service carefully and diligently, hoping that this event would bring peace and blessings to all Buddhists in the city in every prayer and mantra he recited, and hoped that it would strengthen the spiritual bonds between followers and bring peace to every soul present. He believed that this moment would be a turning point for many people in their spiritual journey, and he was determined to make this event run perfectly, creating deeper peace for the city, which is full of devotion. When the worship event begins, the atmosphere of the city is very quiet and full of solemnity. Hundreds of Buddhists sit cross-legged quietly, wearing simple traditional clothes but full of meaning. All their attention is focused on the altar, where Monk Dechen leads the prayer. The morning air feels fresh, accompanied by the aroma of incense flowing softly, inviting such deep peace. This peaceful atmosphere is very much felt throughout the city, creating the impression that the world outside this worship seems to stop for a moment to respect the holy moment. Baiken, with a face full of calm, leads the prayer solemnly. His soft voice echoes in the air, touching every heart of those who listen to it. All who are present bow their heads, deeply engrossed in prayers and hopes for world peace and the salvation of souls. In the midst of this deep silence, suddenly the sound of small, fast footsteps is heard. A small shadow is seen running towards the altar, surprising everyone present. A 7-year-old boy with eyes full of anxiety darts without direction and quickly runs towards Monk Dechen. Without anyone having time to stop him, the boy collides with several ornaments and decorations for the event, which had been prepared very neatly, causing them to fall and scatter across the floor. The atmosphere that was previously peaceful turns into chaos. Several people, shocked and confused, try to chase the boy, attempting to stop the damage. Some try to catch him gently, while others try to calm the crowd that is starting to get restless. In the chaotic situation, the little boy, still running uncontrollably, suddenly heads toward a large Buddha statue, the main symbol of the worship event. The statue stands upright in the middle of the altar, surrounded by burning candles and fresh flowers that are placed with great care. The Buddha statue, a highly appreciated work of art, symbolizes peace and enlightenment. But unexpectedly, the boy quickly touches the base of the statue. In an instant, the statue falls to the side. The atmosphere that was previously tranquil transforms into chaos. The fallen Buddha statue makes a loud sound, echoing throughout the prayer room. Several pieces of decoration around it shatter. The faces, previously full of seriousness and respect, now look stunned, shocked by the unexpected event. Some people immediately run toward the statue to try to lift it. Amidst the growing tension, the little boy is carried out of the event area. The anxious crowd starts to calm down, But suddenly something even more surprising happens. The boy, with a loud and clear voice, begins reciting a verse fluently. The verse from the Quran fills the entire area, shocking everyone present. The boy, who previously seemed confused and scared, recites the verse smoothly, without any mistakes. A profound silence follows as the boy stops. The audience, stunned and in disbelief, cannot comprehend what they have just witnessed. A verse from the holy book of Muslims, recited flawlessly by a boy they never expected. The monk Dain, who had previously calmed the atmosphere and tried to give understanding, was now shocked again. His face, full of wisdom, suddenly changed into a deep question mark. He looked at the boy with sharp eyes, trying to find understanding for the incident that had just happened. The atmosphere, which was originally full of peace, now felt full of questions and amazement. The audience, who had previously seemed confused and anxious about the damage caused by the boy, now felt a deeper confusion. They looked at each other, not understanding why a child from a Buddhist family, who should not know any teachings other than Buddhism, could recite verses from the Quran so fluently. No one knew how the boy could say such words. Some felt doubtful and even afraid because this incident seemed to exceed their understanding. People began to whisper about the strange event. Some felt it was a sign, while others wondered whether this was just a coincidence. No one could provide a definite explanation. All eyes were now on the monk, hoping he could provide an answer or interpretation that could restore calm within them. The monk, who was initially only surprised by the damage done by the boy, was now silent in deeper confusion. The recitation of verses from the Quran by a boy from a devout Buddhist family filled the atmosphere with wonder. The monk continued to stare at the boy with sharp eyes, trying to find the source of the incident. Han whispered to others in disbelief about what had just happened. After a few moments, Monk Dain decided to order the boy to be brought before him. He wanted to understand more deeply why the boy could recite verses of the Quran that he had never taught, especially considering his family's devotion to Buddhism. With a serious and alert face, the monk asked, "Why do you memorize the Quran even though you come from a Buddhist family?" The boy seemed confused by his surroundings. He was silent for a moment, his eyes lowered as if pondering. After a few moments, he raised his head and looked at Monk Dain with a deep gaze full of calmness. Without hesitation, the boy said in a calm voice, full of confidence, "Why do you continue a religion that you yourself are not completely sure about?" The monk's expression froze. "Why do you hesitate to embrace Islam?" The boy's question was like lightning that struck Monk Dain's heart. Until now, Dain had lived steadfastly in his faith, practicing Buddha's teachings wholeheartedly and leading the people with wisdom. However, the boy's words struck a chord, making him feel an emptiness he had never felt before. The monk's silence spread unease through the room, like a mirror reflecting his inner turmoil. He felt burdened with questions he had thought about but never voiced. Why did he hold fast to a religion he deeply respected yet internally questioned? The solemn atmosphere had now changed, becoming full of tension. The monks in congregation present at the place of worship began to feel deep anxiety. They did not understand what was happening to the monk Dasan, whom they had always considered a wise and unshakable leader. Some monks, who began to feel anxious and worried, started to shout, trying to arouse Dasan's attention from his deep contemplation. "Why are you here? Give your answer," they told him firmly. His voice echoed between the walls of the large monastery. They felt that something was wrong, something that indeed threatened the integrity of their beliefs, and they wanted Dasan to give an answer that could restore the calm. The boy, who was surrounded by Kiban and the people around him, remained standing calmly, as if unaffected by the hustle and bustle. He looked at Dasan with full confidence and asked a question, one much more moving than before. "Monk Dasan, what is the key to heaven?" the boy asked in a loud voice, breaking the silence that had been created previously. All eyes were on the boy, and for a moment, the entire room was silent. The audience, who previously did not understand, were now completely stunned by the question. No one was able to say a word, just waiting for the answer from the monk. Dasan, who had been silent for a long time after hearing the question, felt his heart squeezed with a feeling that was difficult to explain. He felt a heavy burden pressing on his soul, as if something was forcing him to rethink everything he believed. His eyes were filled with deep emotion. A stirring voice came from Dakin's lips. His words, though heavy with sadness and regret, flowed as if liberated. The verses read by the boy were a call for me to seek the true truth. The surah he recited was Surah Al-Qasas, which teaches us about destiny and the guidance of Allah. This was the guidance for me to leave my doubts and embrace Islam. All this time I have been seeking peace and enlightenment in Buddhism. But tonight, in front of all of you, I realize that true peace does not come from what we hold as a belief. It comes from accepting the truth that is in front of us. The verse the boy read was one that resonated deeply within me. I have decided to follow this path, not out of doubt, but because I believe this is the right path for me. The atmosphere in the place of worship grew even more chaotic after the monk's confession. Some of the congregation, with confused expressions, exchanged glances as if searching for an answer to what they had just witnessed. No one could understand how Monk Dason, who had been a role model, could turn around and utter the Shahada. Several monks present were also shocked. They felt lost, confused by what they had just witnessed. Slowly and with disbelief, a few approached Dason, seeking an explanation for his actions. They sensed that something far greater was unfolding, something beyond their understanding. In the midst of their shock, Dason concluded, "This truth has been in my heart for a long time. I realize now that the peace I sought was always meant to lead me here. May this moment serve as a call to reflection for all of us." I know this is very surprising to you, and I understand if you feel confused, but this is my decision, and I can no longer remain silent with the doubts that are in my heart after hearing the in-depth explanation from several of the Muslim scholars present. Mul fell silent in contemplation and thought deeply. The hearts of those who follow the teachings of Buddha with full faith now felt that there was something very big and inevitable in the event they had just witnessed. It was like a call from their souls. Several individuals began to feel a profound change. Slowly they advanced one by one, unable to hide the truth that they now began to believe without hesitation. They uttered the kalima together. The monks spoke a sentence that touched their hearts, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from their chests. They felt as if they had received extraordinary enlightenment, and everything was suddenly filled with a peace they had never felt before. This moment not only shook their souls but also touched the hearts of the entire congregation present, who were now beginning to witness an extraordinary change. News of this remarkable event immediately spread quickly throughout the city and the surrounding areas. People, both Buddhists and others, began to reflect and wonder about what had happened. The city, once filled with Buddhist teachings, had now become the center of unimaginable transformation. Many residents who had previously felt calm in their beliefs began to feel moved and sought the true truth. Some of those who had only observed Islam from a distance began to approach it and study it more deeply. They realized that the teachings of Islam, which emphasized the oneness of God and peace, held a profound beauty they had never noticed before. In the months that followed, many people decided to embrace Islam, following in the footsteps of the monk Dasan and other monks. The city, once deeply rooted in Buddhist teachings, had transformed into a more peaceful place, filled with diversity. The decision of the monk and other monks to embrace Islam not only changed their own lives, but also altered the life of the city as a whole. The events of that day would always be remembered as a turning point that changed the history of the city and gave many people a new path to the truth they had been seeking. Not only that, those who embraced Islam felt a deep urge to share the truth they had discovered with others. Dasan felt that his responsibility as a Muslim was to spread the teachings of Islam and offer enlightenment to those still in confusion, as he once had been. With great enthusiasm, Dasan began his da'wah. He visited various cities in Myanmar and even crossed national borders to share his story of embracing Islam. With sincerity and love, he presented his journey in a way that attracted attention. His efforts gained recognition from many around the world. Cities in America became one of his da'wah destinations. Equipped with deep knowledge and a pure heart, Dakin shared his spiritual journey, touching countless lives along the way, successfully touching the hearts of many people from various cultural and religious backgrounds. However, Dason's journey of preaching was not always smooth. He had to face many obstacles, both from those who felt threatened by the changes he brought and from those who did not want to accept Islamic teachings. Dasan believes that every challenge is part of the destiny that he must face to fight for the truth. The monks who used to be his friends also began to follow in his footsteps. Those who have embraced Islam with Dasan not only stay in Myanmar, but also join his missionary journey to various parts of the world. Through his ever-growing missionary work, Dasan has not only succeeded in bringing many people to Islam, but also building a bridge of understanding between various religions and cultures. Cities that were previously filled with doubt and confusion about Islam are now starting to see Islam in a more positive light. Many people who were initially skeptical of Islam are now starting to understand it better and realize that Islam is a religion that brings peace, not violence. Eventually, Dasan's preaching itself became a global movement that inspired many people to embrace Islam and live by the right principles. Through his courage and determination, Dasan managed to touch the hearts of many people and show the world that Islam is the path that leads to peace and true truth. The success of Dasan's preaching began to show extraordinary impacts, especially in the city of Myanmar. The city that had previously not been exposed to Islamic teachings began to change. Residents who were moved by Dasan's preaching began to embrace Islam and felt that it was time to have an adequate place of worship, namely a mosque in their city. In the city where Dasan first preached, namely Mandalay, the first mosque was built, which became a symbol of great change. This mosque is not only a place for prayer, but also functions as a center for Islamic religious learning, a gathering place for Muslims, and a center for dawah activities. This first mosque received a very positive response, not only from Muslims who had just converted to Islam, but also from some people who wanted to learn more about Islam, even though they had not converted to it. The mosque is a symbol that Myanmar, which is predominantly Buddhist, is now starting to accept religious diversity and open up space for interfaith dialogue. Not only in Mandalay, in Yangon, the largest city and capital of the country, a large mosque was also built with the aim of accommodating the increasing number of Muslims. This mosque is equipped with facilities for teaching the Quran, Islamic religious education, and a center for social activities that support the people in various aspects of life. Dasan, a respected preacher, has inspired people to see mosques as places of worship as well as centers of learning and interfaith dialogue. He has invited leaders of other religions, including Buddhist monks, to hold discussions at the mosque, introducing Islam as a religion that teaches peace and mutual respect. This interfaith dialogue opens up new understandings for many people, making the mosque a symbol of positive change in Myanmar. Mosques built in various cities not only support the spiritual development of Muslims, but also encourage their participation in social and economic activities. The growing Muslim community began to contribute through humanitarian programs, education, and peaceful values. The Myanmar government has also begun to provide limited support for mosque construction, although challenges remain. Muslims continue to spread their teachings with love, making Islam a global role model and transforming mosques in Myanmar into national dawah centers. It reflects a way of life that prioritizes peace, respects differences, and encourages cooperation to create a more just society.